Hi there.
Welcome to TownHall Overwatch, your weekly podcast for all your news, esports, and more. Oh my goodness, and all of the video stuff broke. There we go. Hello everyone, and welcome here to TownHall Overwatch episode number 9. I'm your host, Solid Jake, joined by my co-hosts, AskJoshy and Spoh, and our special guest this week, ZP. We're going to be talking about the Overwatch launch, the metrics surrounding all of that, Stopwatch and the other play modes that we're seeing in tournaments, and then just esports discussion in general. But before all of that, we all need to wish AskJoshy happy birthday, belated by a day.
Oh, thank you.
How's it going, buddy? How's your stream?
The stream was great. 16 hours. I actually only get to play a few hours on launch day, and then on Tuesday, there was just all the various events and stuff I was watching and relaxing, and then I knew I was prepping for the 16-hour stream, and it went great. Just being able to play all the characters again, I missed. I played for 6 hours, and then I was like, oh yeah, Widowmaker exists. I should play Widowmaker. Oh yeah, Genji exists. I forgot. I'm pretty good with Genji. Let's play Genji. It's just really great, the amount of variety and gameplay, and the fact that it can be gone for so long and come back and still just love all of it. And then for my actual birthday, I just ate donuts and drank vanilla Coke all day. So it was actually
wait, vanilla
pretty
Coke?
solid.
Oh,
Yeah, vanilla
man.
Coke.
No.
Solid. What's your soda of choice?
I'm not gonna say because I'm actually not in position to judge. Really.
We need to
Surge.
know.
No,
Now
I'm just kidding.
I'm actually interested in this.
But yeah, that was a good birthday overall. Lots of video games, lots of people wishing me happy birthday and stuff, swinging by the stream, saying hello. Got to play with a lot of friends, and that's always nice. I'm glad everyone has access to the game now. But yeah, good times.
All right, Spoh, you finally released your montage.
I did. It was right on the day of release too. I don't know, 5 or 6 hours before, but got buried on Reddit, so rip.
Oh no.
But yeah, I had a lot of fun making it and stuff, and had a lot of fun playing on day one. Not so much yesterday because my internet had a few hiccups, but been having a lot of fun so far, especially playing in the tournaments and whatnot too. So speaking of tournaments, the one like yesterday when was really amazing. If those people got it too.
Yeah, I mean, tournament-wise yesterday, the Alienware Monthly Melee went 2 days, launch day and yesterday, and we had some incredible matches. I would say yesterday went a little bit longer than expected, but I think for the winners bracket, we got arguably one of the best sets ever be played in Overwatch, C9 versus Envious Winners Finals. It went all the way to the tiebreaker, and even the tiebreaker went to the final round. It was just the most ridiculous set I think most of us have ever watched.
You're talking about the winners bracket finals?
Yeah.
Well, before we talk about all the good, juicy tournament stuff, this is Andrew ZP Rush. He actually has a pretty long history in shooters. Also did a lot with Heroes of the Storm for a long time. But ZP, why don't you introduce yourself?
I mean, Jake just covered a lot of it. I've been playing FPS games for a long time competitively. Biggest accomplishment was back in Tribes in 2012. Won the only land Tribes Ascent ever had before Hi-Rez ditched entire support for the game for Smite. So kind of a thing that Hi-Rez does. As Jake mentioned, I did a lot of streaming in Heroes of the Storm and sort of hit a point where it went, okay, I really like Overwatch. I think it's going to make sense to move over. And in Overwatch, I've been doing streaming and casting, although more casting than streaming. One thing you don't realize is that you think going into it's like, oh, just cast and then stream and do both at the same time nonstop. On days where you do tons of casting, it really hurts your ability to go in and stream. It's way more draining.
I will say that one thing Hi-Rez does really well is their voice command system. When I played Tribes Ascent, that was one of the things that I really liked.
But they didn't come up with that voice command system. That was back in Tribes 2. They had the sense to maintain it in Tribes Ascent and then bring it over the Smite. But that goes way back to Dynamics back in the day.
Yeah.
All right. Well, very cool. Glad to have you here with us, ZP. It's going to be fun to talk about, well, pretty much all of our topics, starting with the Overwatch launch. Now, the game launched just this week, actually came out a day earlier than most people expected. The 24th was the announced date, but they meant the 24th globally. So that meant it came out 24th in Asia, and we got it on the 23rd, 7 p.m. For East Coast, for me, 4 p.m. for you guys. And I think just about everyone in the world seemed to be waiting to log into the servers at that very moment of launch, except me, because I knew there was going to be chaos. But was it that bad? Because I tried logging in a half hour after launch, 7:30, and it was fine. But I heard a lot of rumbling that it was a struggle for the first half hour.
Well, my experience with it was I also did what you did, waited an hour because I knew, there was already 100 streams up of people just like trying to log in and stuff. So I just sat and watched and waited while I did other stuff. And then, hour into launch, I logged in and I got booted from games maybe 2 or 3 times that night.
Wow.
Had some FPS drops that did not experience in beta. I don't know if it was server related or my end or what, but otherwise, still just pretty smooth. And the only difficulties I think was just getting kicked randomly, and there were a few drops, like teammates on either side would just fall out of the game. So there were a lot of 5v6s that night, but yesterday during the super long stream I didn't drop a single time, so it's already all shaken out.
Insanely stable overall. CP?
There were some great screenshots of at the very beginning of 300K people watching on Twitch, but then you actually look at all the Twitch thumbnails and it's just everyone the Overwatch login screen. That was 300,000 people watching the same thing, just unmoving. Obviously, there's commentary and stuff in there, but yeah, I mean, I think the servers came up about 15 minutes after late, but short of that, aside from a few minor drops and all the rest, it was a really, really smooth launch and did not bring back any of the horror stories of the Diablo 3 launch.
Oh, God.
That's where you got the great picture of the hamsters running through, getting all the rest. But no, I mean, Blizzard definitely had it carefully planned out, and it went pretty well.
Echoes of Error 37 there.
Yeah, we dodged Error 76.
Oh, was it 76? Oh.
Well, no, I was
Soldier 76.
Overwatch.
Gotcha.
Yeah, okay.
I like it. Okay, let's talk about some of the other things surrounding the launch. So, Blizzard always does unique things when they launch a title. When they released Warlords of Draenor, they put a giant gore howl in the center of Manhattan that was stuck inside a taxi. And one of the things they did this time around, I believe it was Hollywood, Paris, I think there might have been another city where they did this whole agents activating.
Busan.
It was in Busan.
Busan, yeah, sorry.
They did agents activating where they put essentially giant action figures of Genji, Tracer, I don't even know who else, scattered across these major cities as a promotional thing. I mean,
The third one was Farah.
There was Farah in Korea.
Correct.
Yeah. So I obviously, like, the teaser image came out like 2 days before Friday, and it said Friday 10 a.m. Pacific in Hollywood. And I live only 30 miles from Hollywood, that exact area. So I thought, 10 a.m. I could leave at 7 a.m. and maybe get there in time to see what this reveal is. So I had like a long debate. I was streaming. I was like, am I going to have to wake up and sit in traffic for like 2 hours to go see this, whatever it is? I have no idea even what it is. And I heard rumors coming in like late at night from trusted sources that it lasted all weekend, so I did not have to be there at 10 a.m., and B, that it was a giant tracer. So I thought maybe I'll just sleep in instead. But check the Twitter, saw all the cool stuff. Looks like some good photo ops, but really nothing mind-shattering or like announcement related at all. So glad I got my extra Zs.
Yeah, it was cool though. I mean, it's just one of those extra things to just increase exposure for the game. It's cool marketing in high populated areas. And I'm sure it created a bit of a buzz one way or another. The other thing that they did for launch that created a bit of buzz was the Coke Esports launch event, which was a little bit, flip-floppy in terms of how it was received. A lot of people said, hey, I paid $10 for a cup that has Tracer or Widowmaker on it in order to be able to buy soda at a discounted price and watch YouTube videos in a theater. And that was what the Reddit response was. But from my perspective, I attended it myself, and I have to say, it was one of the most fun launch things I've ever done. I miss the nights of going to GameStop late at night for a midnight launch. I haven't done that in so long. It's not really a thing anymore, and it used to be a lot of fun. But this felt like that with it sold out, 250 plus people. there, and every time Bastion dies in the videos, the whole crowd cheers. Like, it was super funny. Like, so I think
I remember.
Go ahead.
Midnight releases, like Burning Crusade, I think was the last one I actually had to attend in person to pick up a box. But those, I do remember going with like college friends and stuff and chilling all night, just talking about WoW with random strangers. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, it is. It really is enjoyable. Anybody else go to the launch event? CP, did you attend one?
No, I think the launch event, I think, was cross-scheduling the Alienware tournament. Wasn't it on Tuesday night?
It was.
I forget what.
I think it was Sunday night.
No, it was over the weekend, wasn't it? Yeah, Sunday night.
Okay, it was okay. Either way, I know I was dealing with a whole ton of stuff, so I didn't get a chance to go to it. And even if I could, I don't think I would have been able to anyways. I'm in Minnesota. I think the closest one was Chicago. I had to drive like 6 hours.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it, I was like, wait, why didn't I go? It's like, wait a second. They had nothing in my state.
Yeah. Rip the Midwest.
Right.
Spoh no Saturdays.
Yep.
Okay, well, overall, very smooth launch. They did some unique things for marketing, and I think they probably learned a lot in the process. But one of the coolest things, I guess the third and final thing, was they actually did a Facebook live stream with Kaplan, where they did basically viewer questions, and he answered a lot of questions about the game. And it wasn't like the most revealing information in the world, but he did confirm that there's going to be another season of animated shorts. And I think those animated shorts give the game a lot of exposure. Like, just about every single one of the later ones that came out made it to the front of all on Reddit. And that's a really, really big deal. And I think that's one of the bigger things that gave the Overwatch subreddit a lot of growth, was just the animated shorts alone.
Right.
So it's cool. We can look forward to a full new season.
Yeah, I mean, those sorts of role-building things really do get a lot of people into the games. This is, of course, a little bit of a tangent, but I think back to, how WoW got its initial popularity back in the day and why other MMOs that came after it didn't quite get the same level. And I think part was just sort of WoW had the lore, world-building, and all the rest into it. It's like, okay, you're going to MMO, but it's also you're seeing things you recognize and all the rest. And this is a little bit different, but I think there's something to be said for an FPS game that doesn't even have a single player in it right now. All these different things that Blizzard is doing, the comics, the shorts, and who knows what else is to come. I think it really does help build mythos around the game and encourage people to play it more.
I will say that I was very excited to see when I went and watched Star Wars in December to see the Overwatch We Are Heroes short. That was really cool to see as a movie preview for Star Wars. I was kind of blown away by that. But just to go watch some videos by themselves. I don't know. I didn't make the trip out. I had one in Ventura, California that would have been 2 hours drive. So pass. Yeah. The Hollywood one sold out, or like the SoCal, whatever it was, sold out like immediately. So Ventura was the next closest.
Okay. Well, let's transition over to just talk a little bit about those metrics we were just mentioning. Now, obviously, I mentioned that the Overwatch subreddit did see a lot of growth very, very quickly. And I had just checked it the other day, and I thought it was around 230,000. And suddenly, guess where we sit? It's at 268,000 subscribers on this subreddit, with over 15,000 people active right now. The growth at which this subreddit is seeing is absolutely astronomical. That's above literally every Blizzard title except Hearthstone and World of Warcraft. And Hearthstone's probably, 320 or something? I'll have to check.
Yeah, they shot past not only other Blizzard titles, but a lot of other really popular subreddits. They're in the top 200 subreddits or top 100 subreddits now.
I know
something like that. Yeah,
Hearthstone's at 359, so it has a little while before it passes that. But the way it's growing, who knows?
Yeah.
But it's what's it? I mean, let's compare it to CS:GO, I guess.
You also think about how long some of these other games have been out too. I mean, Hearthstone's been out for. Actually, when was the subreddit start out?
2013. 2013 is when the subreddit kicked off. Yeah. Mid 2013.
So you got a few years there. But still, it is really amazing just the amount of growth that it's seen just overall, the amount of popularity, the amount of hype that the game has really really garnered over the past months.
Well, the other thing to consider, too, is that it's not just that it's getting a lot of popularity, but we are still in launch week, Not even through launch month yet. So, I mean, that's where you get your most explosive levels of growth for a game. So, I mean, really, it's not even done yet. Before it's all said and done, the Overwatch subreddit could be as high as 400K in the next month or two, which would be absolutely ridiculous. That would actually put it over the Global Offensive subreddit. So you look at its main. I don't really like saying Overwatch and CS are in main competition because they're such completely different games. But if you look at another FPS game as sort of point of comparison, as different as they are, it would be over the next biggest FPS game.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, that's crazy. CSGO's at 374,000 subscribers, which is, that's a huge subreddit. But Overwatch has shown crazy promise on that front. But we're not just looking at Reddit. I mean, Reddit's not the only source of just kind of looking at information. This is something that ZP actually tweeted out probably 2 weeks ago. You just kind of did the Google Trends showing off some of the analytics, and this is one that's fully up to date. From today, you can see the growth here. Now, League of Legends, that's the red squiggles that are way dwarfing everything else. But then if you look at CSGO, Dota 2, and Hearthstone, well, guess what? Overwatch has already passed all of them just in terms of Google search results. And that's an explosive jump.
Yeah, I definitely noticed it on my YouTube analytics too. Videos even from phase 1 of beta, whereas like TF2 versus Blizz devs are just getting tons of views and comments like, man, this game is so hard to watch. There's no kill feed. I was like, dude, just go forward a few months, catch up with us. Yeah, but like, yeah, I'm getting comments on videos from like November. It's funny to me, but the traffic is way out of control right now.
Is there any way for YouTube to do the thing where you have those annoying like pop-ups on the video? Go, hey, new videos here.
Right. Yeah,
this is old.
I have to add annotations and everything.
That. Yeah, exactly.
I'll do it. I'll get there eventually when I'm not playing Overwatch.
It's a
slow process.
Yeah, it's a lot of time to manage all those little things like that. So I guess my question for you guys at this point is, did you expect Overwatch to see this much growth this quickly? I mean, yes, it's had top streamers like Lyric, every single day, but Overwatch, I don't think it's dropped below the top 4 titles since launch hit.
No, it's a juggernaut for sure. Confirmed now.
I would say it exceeded my expectations, but I'm generally a pretty optimistic person in general. I know, of course, back when Heroes was before pre-release, we were all hoping that Heroes would have hit sort of the levels that Overwatch ended up hitting. And Heroes did have a big spike at release, but then sort of petered out. But it wasn't the spike that we've got with Overwatch. Overwatch is like, okay, I did the thing with Heroes. I'm cautiously optimistic, but I know it might not be that big. And then it just blew any of my like most wild expectations.
Yeah, I agree with ZP there. It was largely the same thing. I have largely the same opinion.
It's up there. So with Overwatch in general, still talking about stats, let's talk about, top streamers like, JP, Lyric, whoever coming over and getting big numbers, but then a little bit more Overwatch-centric streamers. And it's kind of cool to see like some of the front runners already standing out there, like Seagull. Seagull's a top player. Seagull has been able to go toe-to-toe with everyone. He has 20K viewers right now. And as like someone who's, what's his background, TF2?
Yes.
Yeah. TF2's never had like a big viewership behind it, ever. So I bet you Seagull's never had 20K viewers watching him play TF2.
Almost definitely not. Even though Seagull was like one of maybe... Let's think back to like StarCraft. StarCraft, when it was hugely popular in 2010, 2011, there was a wide variety of people that you could go watch because obviously they play different races, they're in different regions, all that stuff. TF2, you had like 5 streamers. You had like Benny, Clockwork, Seagull. They got the lion's share, like 95% plus went to just a few individuals. So they do have almost the entire community behind them still, that anyone who's not still playing TF2 came over with them. So definitely a great thing for them, and great for other streamers as well, because Seagull and those guys are going to be playing with other streamers and new streamers. So it is nice to have several different communities all coming together. I mean, the reason the viewership is insane and Lyric and JP and Summit and all those guys are actually playing Overwatch is because it is an FPS. H1Z1 CSGO were traditionally Twitch games. Like, they are the games that people enjoy watching the most, it seems, other than League of Legends, I suppose, and Hearthstone, which I would argue are much more kind of relaxed streams as a viewer experience, compared to an FPS where it's constant carnage, action, death, destruction, all the time. So I think, it's more visually exciting for viewers and easy to immediately get into as a viewer.
So
Also-
I'll say,
Oh, go ahead.
go ahead. Okay, I was gonna say one thing to look at it here is that every game has its sort of trends and streamers and how they go. Seagull, of course, that's the big one to watch because he is homegrown in Overwatch. He will stay in Overwatch for a long time. The other people, Lyrics, etc., they'll be streaming the game off and on, but they'll sort of fade more as they go more to their normal
Of
games
course.
as time goes on. The big thing to watch here is going to be who the streamers are that come up, sort of as homegrown Overwatch runners. You have Seagull, but there will be way more that come up. And I think it's going to be different than, say, a game like Heroes of the Storm, where Heroes of the Storm, I think if a game isn't quite big enough on viewership, you get a situation where it's either feast or famine, where there's only one top stream, and then anyone who's below it gets 1/10 the viewers.
Right.
I think Overwatch is going to be more like Hearthstone, where you have multiple streams that are getting really good viewership. Obviously, the top stream still gets the most, but it won't be quite as one-sided. And also,
I would
I
agree.
think you'll see the biggest growth in individual streams once ranked play comes out. Because right now, the biggest issue for an individual stream, especially if you're a really good player, is that when people are watching, it's difficult for them to sort of discern why is this player a top player? Is he just okay? It's not really there yet. Once you get ranked in, which hopefully will be in, I think it's supposed to be July or something along those lines. Once ranked is in and people can do things like solo queue ranked and really show off there, I think that's what will build sort of like generation 2 of Overwatch streamers, even though they're not quite there yet for like homegrown.
You could say, the competitive. You could also say the same thing for tournaments and things like that. I mean, if you're part of a team that's doing well, or you've been able to, your teams be able to showcase their talent and stuff too, that can also help. If you're a sponsor, you get sponsored as a team as well, that also helps. Getting your name out there, things like that will also help as well. And you were talking about. Seagull, for example, being one of the homegrown streamers. I think that as the game does progress and as these new features, like as competitive mode unfolds, as the tournament scene gets, an esports scene or competitive scene, whatever you want to call it, gets more developed, you're going to start to see more of those homegrown streamers really start to pop up, and you'll see some of the variety streamers start to dabble in other games once again.
Yeah, and it's going to evolve to the point where there's different types of streams too. Like ZP's talking about, competitive have that basically indicator to say this is a really top level player, but it also creates a storyline to watch them climb, right? You can know this guy's Grandmaster rank number 400, then next week he's Grandmaster rank number 200. That's compelling to be like, cool, I want to follow this guy and see how successful he can be. But then there's also going to be the streamers that are a little bit more on the silly side, the super hyper entertainer, more so than the top player that are doing ridiculous things. And the other cool thing with Overwatch is like what I'm compelled in doing a lot myself is like literally the fact that this engine can support casting games. I just want to pop in and just like cast people playing the game. Like that's always been my dream for like Heroes, just to cast random people on the fly, like because for no good reason, and just have fun with it. And that's just like, it's fluff content. It's not necessarily esports content, but it's like just fun. And like, I mean, I'm a person that just likes to watch video games, but I like to talk about them. So there's some really, really cool potentials that this model that the game has, it can support. And it's not even just the model, it's the engine. And I know I've ranted about that engine so many times on the show, but it's good.
I was going to say, that actually reminds me, one thing I need to, Blizzard is, pretty forthcoming saying, hey, do you have any ideas for improvements to Spectator mode, all the rest? One thing I should throw in there, and I think it's technically feasible given how it's a new engine, FPS game, all the rest. Right now, there's 6 slots for spectators, which might seem like plenty, but when you start adding in altcast and all the rest, it can get a little bit crowded. Definitely need to go in there. It's like, hey, can we just get up to like 20, 30 spectator slots just for all sorts 100%. Of reasons?
If it can support that, and they don't have it in there just because they don't want to like clutter it, I don't agree with that myself, because honestly, like I had a meeting with some of the guys at ESL, and we were just talking about logistics for tournaments and whatnot, and immediately the conversation came up. Okay, how do we determine like a clean feed, and who's going to run a clean feed if we have to do that, because we have limited slots? Because when it comes to having an Italian stream and a German stream and a French stream and a Russian stream, guess what? You already can't do that. You need 2 slots for each language. And I mean, ZP, you guys have been running 3 caster slots just for English. So imagine if other streamers wanted to try casts.
And that was an interesting thing to talk about later. So Triple Cast is sort of an experiment for the Alienware tournament this week. And, we'll get more to when we get to that segment of the program. But I will say that the Triple Cast actually felt really, really good in the sense that there's so much going on in Overwatch. Having two people on analysis where they can sort of ping pong off each other and take more time to think and bring that out. And then have the play-by-play guy actually focus mostly on the play-by-play and hype, even though he still can throw out some analysis here and there. It felt really, really good.
Yeah, I liked it. I was watching a lot of the tournament. I thought it was working pretty well. Just having watched it, I would also say that you were talking about the limited spectator slots, or observer slots, sorry, and how that also, it's great. You have the people from shoutcasters, different languages, different streams and stuff. But you also have to consider, once you get into better production value, once the production value starts increasing. And some of these, the new Spectator tools are released, then you'll start to see, you'll start to have some more of the observers, the free cams and stuff like that. You'll have more points of view. You gotta think about those people too. So it's not just the shoutcasters and
You're right.
analysis, but it's also the people who are doing the camera and doing the production work.
It could be
so
two
you
to
also
three.
need the room for
Could be
them as
2 to
well.
3 dedicated observers per game. Like, we don't know what the ideal way to show the game is. It's already a hard game to follow everything. I mean, the number of times when I'm trying to just observe a game and I see that in the kill feed someone died, it's never explained how that person died, because guess what? There's no way to watch everything at once. You can just assume, that maybe the Junkrat had a trap waiting for that tracer. Who knows, right? But
right.
I'll give you an example of why multiple observers are really good, and it's not even a free cam thing; it's a first-person cam thing. Let's say a Reaper has an ultimate, right? And he's going to be looking to use that ult. Now, when you're a single camera, you can watch the Reaper, but that Reaper, even though he's hiding in a spot where he might go down sometime soon, he might be sitting there for a long time, and there's better things that could be caught, but. If you have someone that has access to multiple cameras at once, sort of a producer that can go back and forth, you want to be able to switch him right when he's on the moment of going in, because you don't want to miss that moment.
Right.
So stuff like that is where it's going to be very, very crucial to have multiple points of view on the camera.
Agreed.
Definitely.
But all right, well, let's transition over and talk a bit about Stopwatch. Now, this is definitely a conversation we've had in the past, but ZPs was like, we need to talk about Stopwatch. So I'm like, you know what? We haven't. It's been a few weeks. The game's out. We've seen a lot of different, formats used in tournaments, and I'm pretty sure the community is all in agreement that Stopwatch is preferred.
Yeah, Stopwatch is definitely, talk to the top comp players. That's exactly what they want. I do know that there's a lot of reasons from the Spectator point of view and Blizzard point of view as to why they're a little bit hesitant to go towards that. But here's the basic what it comes down to. Whether it's Stopwatch or not Stopwatch, people want a way of differentiating people more so than just completing an attack on the map. Because as you saw from the tournament, just yesterday, teams are usually pretty good about winning on attack, and full holds are pretty rare. So if you need to have some way of cleanly differentiating between teams when they both finish out a map. And to most people, the most intuitive way right now is doing it by time.
And the Blizzard data also supports that too. They said that based on their metrics, the higher end play sees attack win a lot more than defense, and then in a lot of the casual play or lower ranked play, they see defense winning a lot more than attack. So while it does balance out in the end, it's obviously the game is a lot different on different ends of the spectrum.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but the way that it worked in competitive was basically is if you tie by getting to the same point, there's a tiebreaker.
No,
that's played.
Here, I'll help you. It's if you complete the map, it checks a box. If the other side then completes the map, it checks their box, and then you go to sudden death. Doesn't matter how fast it was. It's just full completion or no completion.
Yep.
And then you do the one round of a random King of the Hill map to determine who won that payload map. So my experience with it, playing ranked solo queue, was I played 8 games of ranked, 7 of them went to sudden death. It felt very coin flippy and pissed me off because we usually finish the map much faster than the enemy team. And then it just feels like you played King's Row for 20 minutes and then it was negated by someone on your team picking Torb on Nepal A or some shit. And it's like incredibly infuriating.
And then you just go to Lijiang Tower and play 1 point, and that's it?
Yep, and then you lose rank points because you beat them by 5 minutes on the payload map, but lost by 1% on the King of the Hill map.
Feels bad, man.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's basically, Joshy sums up a lot of it there. It's in the end, you have to be able to sort of go, one team played the map better than the other team. And, for example, one of the things we tried here on the Alienware Monthly Melee, and it's probably not a tournament format that's going to be used too much in the future, but sort of throwing ideas at the wall, saying, okay, we will not tell you not to finish the map if the other team is done faster. Because that was sort of the main complaint with Stopwatch from a viewer perspective, is going, well, this team completed the map quick, and now the other team isn't going to be able to complete the map at all because they're a little bit slower. A point system for completing in X amount of time differentiates the teams, but still encourages a team to finish out the map, even if the other team did a, say, sub 3 minute time.
Right.
The point system was so confusing.
It is.
It's
exactly.
so confusing. I hated it. I hated it more than anything.
Uh-huh.
No, I know. There's absolute confusion there, but sort of like, well, this is the only way we can sort of do time while also encouraging people to finish out both sides of the map. Is like,
yeah, Esports Arena is going to be using a point system as well. It's a little different, but it's still a point system, so it's still probably going to have its weird issues.
It's like there was even a tweet from Golden Boy saying, right now for a new viewer, Overwatch is near impossible to watch. That's not a direct quote, but that's the gist of it. And, I agree with him. It's if you don't understand the rules, like my fiance was watching with me when I was watching the Alienware event, and she was just baffled by the point system. She's just like, it was really hard to explain that to her. And, you want to look at the top and know the score of the series. You don't want to be confused as to exactly how they're scoring points, all these different variables, etc.
Yeah.
So it's
and
tough.
Part of that's on Blizzard as well.
Yeah.
There's these modes and these scoring systems, and if they were in the game or if they were supported, it would be a lot easier to be able to actually use them. And be understood by the audience.
Well, yeah, because people got confused at Absolute Stopwatch. For the longest time, the Ghost of Gamer Weeklies ran pure Absolute Stopwatch because that's what people sort of expected.
Right.
And it worked out pretty well, but then people be confused and going, well, why are you ending the map early? The time on in-game isn't over. And it's just like, well, no, but the stopwatch time is over.
Right.
And
without the in-game support for that, it just makes it jarring to the viewer to understand exactly what happened. If you're not paying full attention and you see everyone just hopping around and disconnecting from the game, it's like, what happened? What did I miss? I went to get water and it's whatever. So it's not ideal, but that's solely just because the tool doesn't exist within the client. If it showed a victory, then it'd be solved.
I was going to say, particularly, too, when you're sort of used to the end of game fluff where you have, the big victory screen and then the play of the game and all the rest, and it's just sort of like, nah, next map, go back to lobby. It's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Or they sit on the payload and you're like, wait, why aren't they fighting? Why are they letting them finish?
Yeah, why did they stop attacking, And then if Steel's playing them on the team, people start making game throw jokes.
Right.
Oh, man.
I'll add that we did do the Blizzard competitive, ranked format for a best of 7 between, it was Reunited and Rogue, and it took forever for the first, get that out of the way because both teams did complete attack after 8, 10, 12 minutes every single time, and we'd have to remake the lobby. So even Blizzard's own ranked mode was unable to be replicated in custom games. So it ended up being a huge pain in the ass whenever, let's say, King of the Hill map was picked. In competitive ranked mode, it was best of 5. But in custom games, you can only do best of 3. So we would play a couple of rounds and then have to remake the map just to finish the map. It just logistically, even for their own competitive ranked, they didn't give us a way to replicate it. So you have to do one or the other. At least do that if you're going to make a ranked mode. At least give us a way to create it in custom games.
I did not realize that was the case.
Yeah,
it was horrible.
Good.
I think King of the Hill, too, the last time we ran was payload maps with King of the Hill only being a tiebreaker. But I do think if you have King of the Hill as a main map instead of a payload map, you definitely want the ability to do 3 out of 5 because what we ran into in the weeklies for a long time was time issues where it was just pure map drafting. 2 CP maps, of course, are banned all the time. No one wants to play them. Just it's not a thing. But what would happen is that King of the Hill maps would get played quite a bit. And what would happen is that if you had 2 King of the Hill maps in a series and they were played, that set would finish incredibly quickly compared to the set that they'd play the winner of a Numbani Gibraltar
that's
game
fair
or
too.
something.
Right.
And
Like
it's
the
just like
brackets.
Yeah, it's just like one team fishes early and then the other team takes way longer. So King of the Hill definitely needs the 3 out of 5 option in custom lobbies, just for syncing up time at least a little bit more evenly.
I agree.
But then do you really want to see potentially 5 rounds of double Winston Tracer, Lucio?
Well, that's
not if you have the 1 hero limit.
We put a
okay.
Stop to that. So what hero limits are definitely a very explosive topic in the competitive community.
Yeah.
But we saw enough in King of the Hill where I think for payload it's still up in the air, although all the double Winston, double McCree this weekend, or not this weekend, but just earlier this week, kind of makes you wonder a little bit. But what we saw from King of the Hill time and time again with like double Winston, double Lucio, double Tracer, it was just enough's enough, because not only do the players not really enjoy doing that in King of the Hill, the cast is just, it's chaos. It's just sort of like, all right, you have to use free cam because there's just really nothing good to spectate.
Yeah, and I'm sure it gets kind of old sometimes seeing the Twitch chat with the no aim, no brain spam too, right?
It's interesting. I mean, it's very back and forth. Everyone's opinions on to the hero restriction or not. It really is. And
I'm coming around. I gotta say, after the double Tracer, double Winston, double Lucio lockup matches, I'm starting to come around. I was one of the ones that was like, let the players play. Good strategies will evolve, and then the good strategies didn't evolve. Week to week, it was the same shit in the finals. So
even in the payload maps, we're starting to see a trend here where after something gets nerfed, there's sort of shifts in the meta, and you'll have differences over and over again. But then eventually people go, okay, this is the best, and then you're going to see double of that. And right now, for a long time, it was the double orb comp where you saw double Zenyatta, Genji, Tracer, double Tracer, whatever it was. And then Zenyatta got nerfed. So that sort of cut that back. And now, like, McCree is the thing, and you're seeing a lot of double Winston, a lot of double McCree. And McCree certainly is a problem right now. Like, he has to get nerfed. Particularly his ultimate, just because seeing it being high noon for 75% of the match is a little bit of a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like an ult that can zone without being used. It's like the threat of being used alone. And McCree, it's like unique to him, right? Because Barrage, you're not going to say Justice reigns. Just kidding.
It's unless just like get killed and then res and then you have it again.
Yeah.
It's like,
but then you have to run back.
Joke.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah. And also McCree builds all incredibly quickly. Like, he cancels his high noon, then lands one right click, and has ult up again. It's just like, what the So something's a little bit off there. And I think part of the reason why people don't always realize that is that if you just casual observations of open beta where, we're making new accounts, testing things, seeing things at different MMRs and whatnot, general observations that lower MMR, you don't see a whole lot of McCree play, period, just because he's harder to play for people. Even though he does have the flashbang right click, people don't get a whole lot of value on him. And you don't really get the abusiveness that you get at the top end where you have a really high level aimer that's getting really high end support. And that's where McCree just becomes ridiculous. So
it's true. Yeah, I think McCree probably is the only double up hero that is good in essentially every situation.
Just because he's a slayer, he just shreds everything in his path.
Essentially, 420 damage per click. It's a lot.
You used to see a lot more McCree too, back in Beta 1 when the game first came out.
Damage
because
fall
he had no
off?
damage fall off. So you could just snipe people across the map with that.
Widow? Oh, I can click on her head.
Yeah.
I mean, I have no sympathy for Widow. I mean, I play tons of Widow, probably more so than any other hero, but she also has issues in the high end. Like, anything that can kill Widow, I'm not going to. It's like, oh, you kill her. It's like, maybe you deserve to kill Widow.
I'll allow it.
You'll allow it. Okay.
Right.
So, I mean, just in terms of like the other
consensus on Stopwatch,
right?
I
So
think
everybody,
Stopwatch is still just raw Stopwatch. If Blizzard can build in support for it, it's going to work best for the payload maps and double cap maps. I would love to see another mode introduced, to be honest, like another King of the Hill style, maybe a domination moving zone or something. But I think that can also help shake out these issues.
I'm still in favor of. Go ahead, CP.
No, I was just saying my final view on the Stopwatch stuff is that as of right now, of all the options we have available to us now, absolute Stopwatch is the way to go, especially if it's built in the game. But I'm open to other ideas from Blizzard if they can come in with something that really definitively differentiates teams in a way that makes sense that the players like.
Yeah, I'm also in favor of Stopwatch. However, I'm still in favor of trying out different systems and stuff. I mean, if they seem like they'd be a legit alternative.
Random bot match. That's just what I have in the background at all times, guys. Random bot match. But no, seriously, I'm with you. I think Stopwatch is needed, but I actually just really dislike Stopwatch being used without being in the client. And
Yeah.
I almost Blizzard has given us so many tools for this game, and I kind of wish they would just kind of make it an option. If that's not what they want to do for their official tournament series, that's on them. That's their call. But I still think they should put it in the game and let events exist if that's what they want to do, right? Enable the community to build what they want to do. Enable the community to do as much as they possibly can, because all it can do is can it have a negative impact, really? Like, truly? Can it have a negative impact? If that's what people want to play, that's what people want to play at the end of the day. And, if they decide they want to run their own circuit and do something different, that's their call. So I would love to see that, but I really do find it jarring to watch an event that, when the stopwatch ends, it just feels awkward. Like those closing moments, like the casters are just kind of like, all right, we're just going to say the same thing 3 to 4 times.
Yeah, Blizzard just needs to make it flow, because that's the only issue to me.
Agreed. But I do think it is the ideal scenario for preventing the weird tiebreakers that go to a control map. That just doesn't make sense, right? It's like, why have payloads in our tournament if our payloads are always going to be resolved for this other game type with this other game type, and at the same time, if that's how we're going to do it, the payloads are also going to increase the duration of our event, so logistically it's going to make our events take a lot longer to do, and that's not always ideal. There's a lot of pros and cons to it if you do draw it out with these tiebreakers. So, okay. Stopwatch. Maybe we'll get it someday. Currently does not exist, but let's just talk about esports in general.
Dream.
The dream of having Stopwatch? You think it'll happen?
Yeah.
Do you have faith, Spoh?
I think eventually something like that will come in, unless Blizzard has some super secret mode that they think will work.
So esports in general, I don't know where we're going to start with this, but I'll just mention one thing here that's interesting that a lot of people might not know. There is an absolute bubble going on right now with Overwatch teams and what is being paid out. If you are a team looking to invest in Overwatch, getting even a top 16 team that's done any proven stuff might set you back about 1K per player. The top teams are getting significantly more than that. It is absolutely insane, especially comparing to other games that I know in terms of what teams have been getting paid and all the rest, especially for how early Overwatch is. The teams are going in very, very hard in terms of player compensation really early on.
That's
interesting.
Great to hear.
Because even 2 months ago, it was such a drastically different story that you were hearing, where it was like IDDQD going on their monster rampage and not being able to get shit for compensation from orgs and having to turn people down left and right. And I actually have been trying to connect team owners with players. Just people asking me, where can I try to find a team or whatever. I recommend, watching the Ghost of Gamer weeklies and joining the Discord and getting in touch with players and stuff like that. But it's always nothing that I've tried to facilitate has stuck at all. So I'm really curious. Like, I would love to sit in on one of those meetings someday and just see how those negotiations go.
It's very interesting because if you're not a clear-cut number one, and even when you are a clear-cut number one, as in the case of IDDQD, you can have issues. But when you're not a clear-cut number one, you have this weird thing between sponsors and players where sponsors, particularly the newer sponsors or not as established, they do try and get teams cheaper. Obviously, business is business. But then the players also play up their accomplishments way too much. I've heard, not calling anything out, but I've heard way too many stories of teams that haven't done anything or aren't all that great relative to the absolute top, telling sponsors that they're like number one, number two, and it's just like, oh my God.
Or they beaten this team or that team when they either haven't even played them or they clearly haven't beaten them before. So there's a little bit of inflation on terms of our team's accomplishments sometimes. And that can definitely throw sponsors off, that kind of disingenuous talk.
But to turn this in a more positive light here, the general gist is that the esports scene in terms of sponsors, teams playing, everything else, everything is growing at a absolutely ridiculous rate right now.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's cool. I like it.
You
keep
look
our game above the rest.
Yeah, again,
more money.
Look at the metrics.
Less problems, right? That's the saying.
That's all I have to do is look at the numbers, look at the stats. Like the growth is ridiculous for the game right now. And
all right. So esports discussion. Jake, did you have a starting?
Can you guys not hear me?
Us?
You guys probably
are you muted, perhaps.
Yeah.
Wait, is Jake still here?
I see you talking on the screen, but I do not hear words coming out of your mouth.
This happened
We lost
last
Jake.
night. This happened
Rip
last
Jake.
night. You guys,
We're just talking over him being complete dicks right now.
I don't know. Yeah, I have no
You know what,
idea.
Jake? This
Right.
might be part of your show or something like that, but we're just gonna talk all over you.
I hear him on the stream, but not in Skype. That's it.
how about
Does
now?
he? Wait, I hear him now.
Yeah,
He
Okay.
broke it.
you're back. Hello?
I see it lighting up. I see it lighting up in Skype, but I'm not hearing it.
Oh my goodness.
I hear him.
Jake, say hello.
Hello.
Okay, I hear you.
Okay, I'm gonna hear you.
Excellent.
You're good.
I just bought this new USB splitter since my laptop has limited USB ports, and my Yeti, which is what you guys hear, is plugged into that. And once in a while, it decides to stop working. So I'll probably have to make adjustments moving forward. Good to know.
It's all good.
So yeah, just
All right, redo.
let's just talk about esports in general. Basically, there's been like tons and tons of stuff for the launch week. I mean, obviously the Alienware monthly melee is going down. We have Agents Rising, the LAN happening at Esports Arena. You're going to be casting that Joshy with, I believe, Fish Sticks and then T Squared.
Yeah, we got Fish Sticks, T Squared, Jamerson, who's a SoCal local who is doing a lot of stuff at Esports Arena for Heroes and CSGO already. And then Huck, actually. I don't know why they didn't announce him, but Huck, Chris Loringer is going to be casting with us and analyzing. And I think it's his first, it's kind of his debut. So I'm surprised they didn't build him up a little bit. But Yahoo Esports actually did a tweet today with like a video preview of the event and listed him, as well as some competitors, Dyrus and Rafa, for example, are going to both be playing at the event. So that's pretty cool.
Wow.
In addition to the teams that we know, like Cloud9, Team Liquid, Gale Force Esports, and Colorado Clutch are the 4 invited teams. And then there were 26 additional registered teams, so 30 total.
Wow.
Should be a great event. I'm very excited to see everybody tomorrow. Starts Saturday, but going down tomorrow to see it. Likes Overwatch, he's getting involved.
Hawk making his own esports org confirmed?
Maybe. Who just did that? Soda Poppin'.
He did.
The Northern Gaming teams actually both did really well in Alienware.
Yeah, they got to both top 8 winners bracket. NG Blue, though, had the forfeit second.
Are going to be playing on a team together there. I don't know if that's if this is breaking that news or not, but they're I know that Huck had some hand in assisting players from Canada to get out to the event as well. So that's, I don't know what Huck's angle is, but he definitely likes Overwatch. He's getting involved.
Hawk making his own esports org confirmed?
Maybe. Who just did that? Soda Poppin'.
He did.
The Northern Gaming teams actually both did really well in Alienware.
Yeah, they got to both top 8 winners bracket. NG Blue, though, had the forfeit second day because they forgot that they had effectively would conflict with their flights or they said flights in one case, trains in another, some sort of vehicle to bring them to the Take TV land. So they had the forfeit day 2.
Yeah, that sucks.
And NG Red, I think they went down in round of 8. And they weren't on our cast, but they had to have lost to Reunited. Yeah, they had to have lost to, I think, Reunited or Envy in round of 8, and then they never got back out of losers. But still, not bad. I mean, getting to the top 8 and winners, definitely nothing to be ashamed about. Good pickup there.
Yeah. Well, we also have the Take TV happening, the Takeover, which is going to be, a $5,000 tournament. That's all the premier Europe teams are going to be going to that one, happening at the Take TV studios. I know a lot of the guys are flying over today, and that'll be starting tomorrow, the 27th through the 29th. So there is a ton of content to watch in general this weekend, right? Between Esports Arena and Take TV, those are 2 different time zones too. So that's pretty much going to cover your whole day for coverage. And I'm sure there's more than that. I mean, there's tons. There's actually just tons of events happening in this launch week. And everyone's excited. I know ESL has a tournament tomorrow. I think there's like 140 plus teams registered for that.
What? Really?
Yeah.
It's the ESL EU tourney.
140 teams?
Let me confirm.
That's pretty good.
No. So for reference on the Alienware tournament, we had a 64-team open tournament. We did pre-invite teams that had a record and everything else, but that only made up for about like 18 teams or so. The rest was full open invites, and those open invites filled up in about 4.5 hours. Wow! So the ESL tournament getting up to that, no surprise whatsoever. There's a lot of teams that are really wanting to get into Overwatch. I mean, that was sort of the hidden story about the Alienware tournament because, of course, the games are on stream. We didn't cover losers bracket 1 through 4. But really, there was a ton of new teams, and that's huge. I mean, even especially for an NA tournament like that. I mean, you look at other games don't even get quarter of that interest.
It's 205 teams already. 205.
I was so 205 times 6 is over 1,200 registered players.
That is
if they all fill up, if they all
insane.
play. That is insane. Actually, I was tracking when I was working at Blizzard and Hearthstone Esports was basically just starting. I was doing kind of esports. I was basically just gathering a bunch of metrics, all the online tournaments and stuff, and making Excel sheets for the Hearthstone team to review. But they were getting like Zotac Cup had $100 first prize and qualified you for BlizzCon points, and those were getting Hearthstone. Just one player versus one player would get like 400 or 500 players signed up, and I was always very amazed at that. But this is 2,000 plus already in the opening week, and like these guys don't even have a full day of experience. A lot of them, you know what I mean? That's actually incredible.
It's really good, and there's people that are doubting whether or not this game's going to be an esport in general.
So here's the funny thing, and this is sort of almost conspiracy theory, but I think there's some truth to this idea. Is that so? There's a conversation that a bunch of people had a while back, and it was in like one of the comp channels. We're talking about the good old days where you think back to the early 2000s when games had competitions. You had online ladders, and you would get 500, 600 teams in those ladders. It's like, wow, why can you not get that many organized teams nowadays? And one of the theories that came up that I thought actually rang a little bit true is that once games started putting in ranked modes in the actual game, people had less incentive to make their own independent teams and do all the rest. So I wonder with the Overwatch Cup here, if part of this is just there's no ranked in game right now, so people have more of an incentive to actually participate in these tournaments because no ranked in game. This is effectively your ranked until it's in.
Yeah, this is like scrim practice almost for a lot of these teams just starting out.
Yeah,
interesting theory.
It's a really
makes
good point.
sense. Makes total sense.
But even still, the fact that without any massive marketing to get to the masses and show, hey, look, sign up for our event, that they've already got 1,200 plus people registered for a tournament. It's a good sign. It's a great sign. I don't know if we've ever had a Heroes tournament that had 200 teams. EP. I don't think we have.
No. No, I think there were some ESL Cups that might have gone to like 100 or so. But
Yeah,
I remember that always
sure.
feeling bad because the NA scene had so little participation compared to EU. It's like, okay, EU has like 8 billion teams. NA, feels bad, man.
NA has like 60. EU had like 120-ish, I believe, on average for the early days.
Yeah. I think Heroes was an intimidating game, though. Even though Heroes on a casual level is sort of, made to be more inclusive. It's made to be, okay, get in here. It's not supposed to be as intimidating. In actuality, I feel like the game was actually incredibly intimidating to people to make teams. I'm not really sure why. I think that was sort of the impression I got towards the end.
Why would you say Overwatch is any different then?
That's a good question. I think part of it might just be the fact that maybe people, even if you're not all that great at the game, say you go a hero like Junkrat, you're shooting things at people, you're going to pick up kills. In a game like Heroes or all the rest, it's still possible, even if you're playing against, or especially if you're playing against better players, to sort of do absolutely nothing the entire game. In an FPS game, there's a little bit more variance. So even if you are getting outclassed, you can still have great moments all on your own. It's why for me, like, I don't think I ever got truly too salty solo queuing in Heroes, although, I guess complaining about drafted heroes would get you shit, and that's an entirely different topic.
That's true.
Entirely, but
that's true.
But in Overwatch, I never get salty regardless of what's on my team, just because, like, you know what? There's always stuff I can do as an individual player. But that actually does lead to a different topic, which I might have that view, but I might be a unicorn there because Overwatch causes a ton of salt, especially at like the mid-level play. Like I've seen so many salty people while playing Overwatch. It's just like, just shoot them. Do better. Why you have to be mad?
I'm in the same
I have
shoes.
a story from yesterday's stream. Like I'm kicking off the 16-hour stream, and it's like game number 2 of the day. We're playing defense on Route 66, and literally, I think timer starts at 5 minutes. There's 3.5 minutes left. They have not moved the payload. We're on defense. We're totally holding them at the spawn. And a guy starts complaining on my team. He's like, I got put into another game with a bunch of retards who can't, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I haven't even died yet. Why are you mad? I'm so confused. Like, and he just started, he's like, oh, yeah, let's all just hold hands and have a hippie groove circle. I'm like, we're fucking killing them. I don't understand your point. But you can mute and you can avoid player and all is well again.
Yeah, I don't know what this is. Maybe it's just people playing FPS games for the first time, so there's no like inbuilt joy of sort of getting better at stuff. But no, I have the same thing where I'll go Widow, and a good Widow is really freaking effective. But you go Widow on offense, and it's like, oh god, we have Widow on offense, we lose, dumb game,
Well,
bad pause. Like what?
I call it the Hanzo effect. People always seem to have gripes with Hanzo on their team. It always seems to I see a lot of people pointing the blame at Hanzo. I see this in pubs a lot. I don't know why.
Really?
Hanzo seems to attract the most ire and salt from
Hanzo,
people.
if you don't see him in the kill feed often, you're like, why do we have a Hanzo? Like, and to be fair, Hanzo can miss all of his arrows and not do anything. Literally 0 damage for a minute at a time. So he's like an easy scapegoat, I think.
But he shoots tree trunks.
He does, but people miss those tree trunks still.
It's interesting. I think that's actually going to be something to track going forward is how people really react to the game. Because, again, my general interaction has been at the very high levels, people don't get super salty. At the low levels, people are just like, oh, this game is cool. There's like this mid-level here. I don't know if it's Dunning-Kruger or what, but like sort of the in-between in the game where people have enough knowledge where they think they have a pretty good idea of what they're doing, but not enough to like be towards the top end where people just get incredibly mad at everything. And I guess I'll be interested to see if that is the case going forward as people get more familiar with the game.
It's weird because I'm a salt bucket when it comes to heroes. I am just a factory of just Morton salt where it just keeps pouring out endlessly. And a lot of that comes from the draft and, playing Hero League. It just, I don't know what it is. But Overwatch, I don't get angry. Like, sure, we'll lose, but what I'll do is I'll actually type to my Widow usually, be like, hey, Widow's not really good for this attack point on this payload map. You should probably switch to McCree in this situation because he has a similar effect. I'm not like, yo, you're shitty, get out of my game. Like, that's, whereas in Heroes, that's what I want to say, but I can't say it.
Well, in Heroes, you just have the soul drained out of you when, some hero that's on the bottom of the meta is just like first picking is like, nah, I got this. And I'll tell you this much, like, that's one thing in Heroes I did personal stream wise that if I had to go back and do it over again, I just would never have said anything about the draft and been all roses and sunshine. I didn't think I was being too unreasonable and saying like, please don't first pick Murky. But there's something about Heroes where if you do that, it comes off the wrong way and people are just like, well, look at this dick that's just like, why are you saying they did it? But, even if you don't say that internally, you're just like, oh my God, first pick Murky. No. Jake, like I said, you can definitely empathize.
Dude, I love my first pick Murkies. We always win.
Gazlord,
Gazlo, get out.
That was a common one too.
Yeah.
At least in Overwatch, you can swap heroes though, so you're not stuck with that one the entire match.
I think that's why it's less salt-inducing because you can always swap heroes. You're guaranteed to die a lot, and dying doesn't feel as like game losing, right? You lose in Heroes late game, it's like, okay, we lose the game, it's over. It's like really stressful. But in Overwatch, your death timer is consistent. And I feel like every time you die, it's like, okay, just regain your composure and you're back in there in a few seconds and you just know that you just got to recommit. It's just a different style game. And I think it, in turn, it stresses you out in a different way, where it's little.
Maybe it's. I'm just thinking about like the psychology of what you're talking about, where it's like, let's say you're defending Hanamura, and you die as the enemy team is rolling into point B. You still know, like you still have at least some thought in your head that I can rush out of spawn fast enough and contest. I can't kill 6 people. I can't, maybe I can't ult and wipe them out, but I can linger long enough for my team to have a chance to still not lose here. But in Heroes, it's like, I died. We're probably done. Yeah. That sucks.
Yeah. But yeah, like you said, there's always that sense of like, I can do a little bit. I just need to do as much as I can.
Right. That's a good feeling.
It's cool.
That's a good point.
Cool. Well, there's a lot of esports events happening. Obviously, we're seeing huge registration pop up for some of these events. But Joshy, ZP, you guys have cast a lot of events, and Spoh, you've played in quite a few. What are the things just overall that you like, that you've enjoyed in your experiences? And what are the things, well, let's just start with that. Like, what are your most positive experiences with tournaments so far?
For me, I think early on casting was a lot of fun just because it's a new game, obviously, and getting to figure out all the new spectator tools and stuff like that to figure out how to broadcast it well and relay information well, figuring out what people are confused by. And that's just a casting thing. That's just like getting experience is fun because it's new and novel. And then as time goes by, seeing new strategies was always like the most fun for me, like Protect the Bastion comp just coming out of nowhere, and just seeing atypical picks, Hanzo on defense coming out for the first time from Seagull. I was just like, oh, really? And then he kills everybody, and it's really exciting. Just out of the blue swaps and stuff like that, and then trying to figure out, what they could have done differently, why'd they choose this character specifically at this point, and then just analyzing it. It's like, oh, obviously Hanzo has good high ground here and Hollywood defense and blah, 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 blah. But just community building, storylines, blah, 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 that stuff. Teams had a lot of variety throughout beta, just switching them up. Mendo and Tavik are the two that always come to mind, just playing with different teams, seeing what this new squad can do, figuring out who the players are that you're going to be watching for months to come. Surefour and Reaver started out as, oh damn, Surefour is a pretty good Genji. Now it's like, oh damn, Surefour is killing everybody and winning every tournament. And like just seeing the rise of various players that you weren't expecting. Seagull was in the beginning of the beta, the messiah of TF2 to Overwatch, where everyone's like, Seagull's going to win everything, flocked by a Seagull, and then very quickly Tailspin shows up with his Hubris crew and puts a stop to that. And then now I just love the shifting ecosystem, and the fact that our ecosystem just got enormous is very exciting to me.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I would just say, sort of pile onto that, say the growth of things has been the most exciting thing to watch. The teams go for, let's start with the events. The events started out very small to, prize pools. The original weeklies were 120, and then that's grown to where, the average weekly was 500 plus crowdfunding, which would bring, it to 1K. Then we have things like the Alienware event, which is 3K, lands that are now 10K. I mean, things are going up drastically, just the growth of everything, more events. And then, what Joshy said there too, with the players, we've seen players go from, all right, this is a new team that just started out, to this is now a top team. C9, probably the best success story where, I don't really know how Jack does it on C9, but he picked up Google Me that had only 2 weeks of results and ended up grabbing the best team in the game. It's just like,
crazy.
Are you kidding me? That is some just god tier level team scouting.
Look at C9 for Heroes too. They won BlizzCon, just right out of the gates. He happened to get the BlizzCon champs for Heroes. It's just like he's good at what he does.
Yeah, no, I mean, Google Me ending up being as good as they are, and that working out so well for C9 is just like, oh my god. Because a lot of the other orgs have not had a lot of success. Some have, but I'm trying to think here. Right, the orgs have gotten in.
Liquid
and
hasn't.
Out.
Envy's had trouble already.
Yeah.
Envy
Fnatic started with a team.
Fnatic started with the team, so I'll tell you what happened with that. And this is where Fnatic really wishes they could have a redo. So the Reunited squad, which is in many people's eyes one of the best teams in EU, number one and number two in overall results, especially now that IDD has moved to NA. So they're probably the top EU team right now. They initially were with Fnatic. They were Fnatic's Battlefield squad. But they started out Beta 1 relatively slowly. They weren't getting the best finishes. They're a team that has to grind things out. So Fnatic has passed and is like, we don't really want to sign you right now. Now, of course, with how good they're doing, Fnatic would absolutely love to sign them and give them the world, but they decided that they are going to do their own thing. So Fnatic, if they could turn back the clock there, they would probably redo that.
Interesting.
Entirely.
That's good to hear. That's already happening. Teams regretting not signing a team is like a really good sign for this game. Mm-hmm. I mean, no matter how you look at it, the teams realize they have worth. Like organizations like TSM were born on their own merit, right? Their own hard work. They, like Reginald, they built the website, they built it all, and they built the foundation, and they built a team. And Tempo Storm, Reynad, all coming in, kind of doing his own thing with Tempo Storm and making his own team just from a success with Hearthstone and then expanding into different games. I think that's always a really good thing to have. And, if Overwatch bears its own brand, or a new brand is born from Overwatch, it's great. That's a really good thing. ZP 11-month sub hype, so handsome.
Yeah, I know. I'm pretty bad about Twitter. Like, even if I don't visit, it's like, okay, I'm subbed to them. It's just there, for better or for worse. It's probably it's like, yeah, I'm still subbed, just so you know. But there's one other team I wanted to bring there. Okay, so a few other teams that have gotten in and had issues. Of course, we mentioned Envy, where their first squad, they sort of had the remake, but they're still in it. Their new squad is great. Teams like G2 were in it in the beginning, and their team, completely fell off. Liquid is probably the most noble example of a team that got in, and they have not had results up to the Team Liquid name. And I'm not saying this to hate on anyone there. I'm friends with a lot of people that are on Team Liquid right now.
Even
but
when we
results-wise, Liquid sort of expects, at least top 4, right? They're not getting that done right now, and that's a problem.
Wasn't Dummy when he was on the show a couple of weeks ago just talking about making adjustments moving forward?
Yeah,
they
Dummy. They did swap a player, I believe.
Yeah.
No,
They swapped
of course, 2 players. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna forget who they are. Spoh, do you got it on the top of your head?
Frisco and V, they are no longer with Liquid, but I think they're trying out Zoms and Vonathil. They're
Right.
two replacements at the moment, or 2 tryouts, and I'm not sure if they're officially on or not.
I'm not sure who's gonna be playing at the LAN this weekend. I
And
guess Zoms and Vonathil.
Yeah, I think so. But I mean,
yeah.
whenever you have swaps like that on any team, it's gonna take teams a while to adjust to things like that. I mean, you have to adjust to strategies, calls, different players, play styles. There's all sorts of things. So when you have roster swaps like that, it's
hard.
It is going to change things up for a while.
So Overwatch has seen a lot of team shakeups, even in cases where it has made no sense. It's just sort of the nature of FPS games where I think you just get more swaps than other genres. And 2 things. A, it can be hard to really become a top team if you're changing up constantly when the meta doesn't fit your team precisely. And okay, now I completely forgot the second thought I was going to go to here. I'll come back to me.
So team swapping up a lot. It's hard to maintain a roster. Yeah, I don't know where you're going with that, but it's good.
No, there's some other thing I was going to go with that. And I was going to say, even the teams that have done incredibly well, like IDD QD, they were like 55-0, and their team broke up.
Yep.
In the sense they had Tavik and Mendo on there, and Tavik and Mendo, for one reason or another, said, okay, we're out. It's just like, but you guys have won everything.
That is, I still don't really know the details there. I would love to see those conversations too, because that is, I kind of, like, I was starting to write an article about it, and then they broke up as I was writing it. It's like, screw it. Don't even care anymore. It's all moot.
I mean, I know some of the details I'm really not super at liberty to do, and it's all secondhand, but it's not for great reasons. I feel like with what they were doing there, with the sort of unstoppable juggernaut thing that they had going, they absolutely should have stuck with it. It was just, it's those things where if even your team that's 55-0 can break up, what hope do you have for every other team?
Right.
Well, even Envious had Hubris and dumped almost all of Hubris because, people, it's not even just working together. It's individual morale and like work ethic. And I think Roz was the one who was just like, I actually don't feel like competing. I know we're signed to Envious, but I just don't feel like it anymore. And then the team was done. So it's like not even your own individual effort and performance can just completely dictate what you do in this game. It is kind of scary for pro players, but that's true in all esports, in my opinion. So good luck out there for everybody competing.
Thing is, most of what people see too are from the tournaments or from show matches and things like that. People don't really see what goes on in the scrims. I mean, sometimes you can do well in scrims, but maybe you don't do well in tournaments. Maybe it's the other way around. Sometimes those things are things that people don't see always, so that can always have something to do with it in some cases.
So we've already got a lot of the large orgs involved in the game, and one thing I wanted to ask you guys, like, Joshy, you mentioned the fact that Dyrus was going to be part of Esports Arena. Organizations like TSM, CLG, do you think we're going to see just about every big brand hop into Overwatch purely because of the numbers that the game's seeing?
I think I'm actually a little surprised that we have not received any word about a BlizzCon circuit at all yet. And I think that announcement or system is going to dictate which teams get involved, because signing a team and then finding out that the format is not going to work for you, let's say region locking comes in, let's say any number of things can basically go from this is a really good investment to maybe we should wait. So I feel like that is going to be a very big part of orgs who haven't gotten into the game yet, their decision. TSM is definitely getting in. I've been talking with people there, and obviously they had like the online registration form where it's like, please apply online for TSM Overwatch. But,
I would love to be a fly in the wall to see those applications, just to see how many people. We were talking about this earlier. Teams sort of exaggerate, like how many teams are going to go in there and try and tell TSM like we're going to be the best team ever. I actually have a good idea as to who TSM is looking at. Can't say anything. This is where I was just like, I know, but I can't say. But I think there's definitely some good teams I can pick up. I would say the biggest block to some of the bigger names getting in is just they do want to pick up teams of a certain caliber. You don't want to go in, with the pedigree of a TSM and then pick up a team that's going to struggle to get top 8. Like, that's not cool. You'd rather not be in at that point from the perspective of those teams.
You just wait.
So they have to find the proper free agent team that can give your C9s of the world a run for their money. And that's a really important thing for them, I feel like. And that's sort of why I think some of those orgs didn't get too involved in Heroes. Because, Jake, you think about how, say, the NA scene worked in Heroes. You had sort of, for a long time, you had Tempo versus C9.
That was it.
And then there was a huge drop-off.
Yeah, it was so, no one else could even go toe-to-toe in North America for 8-9 months.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So if you're a TSM or org of that caliber, why are you going to pick up a team in Heroes at that point if that team is going to just get wrecked by Tempo and C9?
Yeah.
And I think Overwatch has way more parity in it so far, but there's still sort of that element at work here where they want to see more free agent teams that can give the top teams a run for their money before jumping in, because in the end, they want to have a good competitive team.
It's true. Makes perfect sense. That's really exciting to hear that TSM's already looking at it though with interest. I mean, who knows? Who knows where it's going to go? But like Joshy was saying, a lot of it's going to be revolving around if and when Blizzard decides to announce whatever their official plans are to do with the title. Heroes of the Storm launched last June, pretty much, a year from now, when it had its official launch. And they pretty much said, hey, here's our road to BlizzCon. There was regional events for each region, and those all fed into BlizzCon, and there was a whole qualification process that was built from that. So we should, in theory, expect that for Overwatch, since this is its launch year, and it would make sense to do that. But how long do you think they should wait, or should they not wait? Now, with the upcoming announcement and return of competitive play, once they relaunch competitive, do you think that's the money time to be like, hey, here's a competitive. Oh, by the way, we're doing esports.
I think that's going to be part of it.
Mm-hmm.
The other part, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think at PAX East, the Blizzard Esports rep there said that they'd be kind of releasing their plans for future competitive stuff in a couple months, and that's not too far off.
Yeah, I mean, I think it does make sense to at least unify your big Blizzard tournament with whatever competitive rule set you have in the actual game. That would make sense. I think a lot is up in the air. I think it's probably likely that we'll see something. I mean, who knows? The thing is that you never want to say we know this is going to happen for sure. There's multiple things at work, and maybe they could skip this year in the idea of going, we want to get something done. But I do think we'll probably see some event. It's just a matter of when. If it is going to be done, I would guess that you'd probably get an announcement in a month or two.
Yeah, I don't think they could wait that much longer, because we should imagine BlizzCon's going to be November. So you usually want to have at least 3 months of qualifiers.
When was the Heroes Road to BlizzCon announced?
June, July, and August is when it happened. So it was announced pretty much
at launch, basically.
It was announced, before launch, I believe. They announced it since the beta had been going on for so long, because it was alpha and then beta. Yeah. But
I was actually in Blizzard at that time, and the reason that Heroes announcement lagged so long was literally just contracts needing to be signed. It was like we all reached agreements in March and couldn't say anything till May or something like that. So it is very possible that that's what's happening here too, where everything's fleshed out already and they just need to dot their I's and cross their T's.
Makes sense. But yeah, to put in perspective, it was June, July, August for the online qualifiers, and then regionals was like the end of August. I think so. Am I completely confusing myself? No, that's correct. And then it was like a month and a half or so between all of the regionals ending and BlizzCon, and then all the teams flew out.
They had to build in enough time to ensure that they could fly everybody to BlizzCon pre-week.
Right, at least 6 weeks.
They're like, end of August, we have to cut off first week of September, no more competition.
Yeah, so they can't wait too long if they're going to do a similar format. I mean, they could do a completely different format for Overwatch, assuming they have events, for sure. But I think for a new title, doing online open events that funnel into a live LAN makes the most sense.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely.
Well,
yeah, I'm excited for whatever they bring out.
I think the one thing for sure is that we're all very, optimistic, cautiously optimistic about what they might do with esports with this game. The potential and the viewership is already proven to be that of a AAA esport. We talk about AAA titles. Every single Blizzard game out there is a AAA title, but not all of their games get the same kind of
Not all AAA titles are equal, though.
right.
True.
Well, actually, you look at the tournament numbers even. Overkill.gg finals got, I think, a peak of like 18.5K. Yesterday, the Alienware tournament got to about 16.5K. I'm trying to remember what we got from early hero stuff that would be comparable. Is like,
Well,
there was some there was like
talk about-
ESL finals. There was some, maybe it was Zotac stuff for that. But I feel like it was more in the realm of like 5K. So I mean, Overwatch is off to a really roaring start.
Well, Kings
and
of
you
the
also think
Storm.
about the time frame too. I
Yeah.
mean, that was at what? What was the peak view? The peak viewers you said was 16.5 ZP
Yeah.
for yesterday, and that was at what time?
10:30 it ended at 10:30 at night Pacific.
But yeah,
It
so
actually-
1:38. Yeah. So think about the time frame too on a weekday, nonetheless.
It's crazy.
That's pretty good.
So just to put it in perspective, Kings of the Storm was one of the earlier successes for tournaments, and that was kind of where I started casting. And we held one of the highest viewership records for a long time in the early competitive heroes, and that was like 8.5K concurrent on like primetime, like on a weekend. So the fact that you guys are getting 16K on weekday events is crazy. It's actually just crazy. I mean, even DreamHack Austin, I think peak was like around 30K or something for heroes.
Mhm.
So to get 16K, that's really good. That's really good.
Yeah, and Take TV Land starts tomorrow, aka basically tonight for U.S. times, right? Can I confirm that? I think yeah. So it'll be on when I wake up tomorrow, but we'll find out for sure like what this viewership can really reach. I think between Take and Esports Arena this weekend, it should be very exciting.
Live atmosphere adds a huge level of
live
depth.
atmosphere. Yeah, just production stuff that's like not just games. So there's going to be like analyst couches, and I'm sure Take TV is going to have players casting and stuff like that, and goofing around playing poker or whatever. So just all that added spectacle really can keep people tuned in.
Yeah.
So I think 20K is not unreasonable at all for like day one of Take TV or Agents Rising.
I mean, if the events work together and we see Take host Esports Arena after they conclude because they're in Europe, I'd say 30 to 40K easy is totally doable.
I definitely agree. The one thing that'll help out a lot too is and this is sort of random, you can't fault the variety streams or anything else like that, but there is definitely a thing where like you still have the top spot on Overwatch being a big deal. It's you got to hope for the event. It's like Lyric, play something else for this week from the tournament. Or I mean, don't get me wrong, it's great days playing Overwatch. I'm not hating on that, but if Lyric is streaming over your event, it hurts.
It does.
I will say Fishsticks has some sway there. So Fishsticks has like Ask Siegel for hosts and in beta events that we've cast and stuff like that. And Fishsticks is in a position where he can say, hey, maybe Lyric plays H1Z1 today. Maybe Jericho hosts this stream. Like he can make things good for them later if they help him now. So maybe he'll be able to.
Awesome.
I know Fishsticks. It's really good to have him actually, just connecting all these dots because he's in such a good position to do so.
Maybe Summit practices throwing Molotovs in another game.
The dream. Cool.
I can't wait for Summit to be streaming and like kill himself as Junkrat or something like that. Like after killing the enemy team and then like having a ball bounce back and kill him or something like that. Just to mimic it would be so great.
Alrighty, well guys, be sure to tune in to pretty much all the events happening this weekend. It's going to be on, I believe, twitch.tv/just Esports Arena. And then is it Take TV or Take TV Overwatch?
Actually, no. Let's confirm that. I'm going to ask ZP a question. While we look that up, ZP, I would love to know because I was streaming yesterday. The finals, the winners final, losers final, and grand final were Cloud9, Envious, and third place was
Reunited.
Who? Reunited. Okay. What do you think in the Cloud9 versus Envious matches? They were both playing from NA, both playing together, like in the same houses, even. What do you think the edge was that Cloud9 had? Like, who were the standout players? Just what in your opinion, if you can sum it up?
I mean, honestly, it's hard to say that there's much of an edge that either team had in the winners finals. I mean, it was incredible. It came down to the very end. Even the final round was so incredibly close that it feels hard to say that this one team had a big edge over the other. I mean, the one thing I'll say that both teams had that a lot of the other teams in the tournament didn't have is they both had absolutely scary offenses. So Overwatch has gone back and forth with, some teams being more offensive favored, some teams being more defensive favored. Relative to everyone else in the tournament, they had crazy fast offenses over and over again, map after map. usually, you'll see it where, if two teams are even, if one team gets a sub 5-minute time, they'll usually stop the other team because it's a really good time. They were both putting sub 5-minute times up on each other. And that's just actually ridiculous to me when you look at where all the other teams are at right now. So there's something to be said for how they coordinate their offenses and how they go in. And obviously, Surefour was playing out of his mind. Tailspin was playing out of his mind. Both Taimu and Reaver had just epic Widow duels. I think skill-wise, both teams are actually incredibly close at the moment. But the one linking fact is that their offenses are just crazy. I mean, there's no other way of saying it.
Do you think, specifically because of the speed that you mentioned, Lucio speed control, would you say that that's like above and beyond other teams? Like they've figured it out?
I mean, it's not even so much Lucio really being a part of it, just they get picked. The offenses are able to set things up. They use things like Winston to their advantage, and they just get on targets in the back effectively and set team fights to their tone, because it's one of those things where it's not like one team is dominating the other. They were both doing really good specifically on offense. So there has to be something in there in regards to just target selection or, I don't know, just really good offensive play.
Cool. I'm going to watch those VODs after this episode wraps.
Yeah.
Spoh, what do you think about, did you actually play in the event?
Yeah, I did. I've been rigging for various team stuff, but I was playing with Team Zensity for that tournament.
Oh, okay, yeah, you were on Zensity, that's right. And you guys, I watched a little bit of that match against One Shot. What was your tournament experience like for Alienware?
It was interesting. I liked playing in it. Was a lot of fun. It was really nice to get back into playing tournaments. It was also really fun to watch a lot of the matches too. I mean, I know ZP just brought up the winners bracket finals, which I thought was probably one of the best series that I've seen in a long time. But it was a lot of fun playing in it, and I would definitely encourage any teams that, even if you're newer players and stuff, because I know that our tank was literally his like second day on Rhino.
Oh, no.
And I hadn't played with that roster either. They just said I pretty much just started playing with them on the day before, just scrimming. So we just kind of went in and just said, hey, let's play. It'll be a lot of fun. And see what we can do. And obviously there are a lot of other teams that are playing that tournament that had the same mindset, saying, hey, it's maybe there are a lot of open beta teams that are like, hey man, there's an Alienware tournament, let's see how we can do, let's play. And it is a lot of fun. Win or lose, it's a lot of fun playing in the tournaments. And I would definitely suggest that anybody, even if you're not looking to go super pro esports or whatever, I would definitely encourage teams to play in them, because they are a lot of fun.
Awesome. Glad to hear that. So we did find that link. Thank you, Spoh. The twitch.tv/TakeTV_Overwatch is going to be where the Take TV tournament kicks off tomorrow. So definitely just go ahead and follow it now so you can have it ready for tomorrow. That's going to have mostly European teams. I think actually entirely European teams. And it's going to have probably a lot of interaction between players, casters, community members I know are going from Gosu Gamers, and like One Amongst Many will be there. So should be a good time there. And then Agents Rising, it kicks off Saturday morning. I believe the stream is going to start at 10 a.m. Pacific on Saturday morning. So
wow,
lots and lots and lots of Overwatch this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, 14 hours from now is when the takeover starts. Like, a lot of the players are, already flying. They were already made it to the venue because it's 11 p.m. in Europe right now. So very, very soon before the takeover begins, and it's going to be a lot of fun. But I believe we have nailed pretty much all of our topics. We've talked about the esports, we've talked about the teams, just the overall launch, and this is where it all begins, my friends. I mean, Overwatch has now just been born. Yes, we've had the beta. Yes, there's been some learning and some balance changes, but the fact that they made no balance changes going into launch, I think, is a very good sign that they're happy where it sits. I think overall people are generally happy. Yes, McCree might need to be tuned down. DP's getting ready to talk about it. I see you.
Well, I was literally like 3 seconds away from
I got you. Maybe there's some small tweaks that need to be made, but overall the game is in a great spot. The hero pool is good. Some rules like Stopwatch, some rules like hero locking, yes, those are going to be debates for some time, but eventually Blizzard will come out and say this is what we're doing for our event, and that's going to ultimately dictate the majority of the tournaments moving forward. And, well, time will be told, but this is our time to voice all of that before those rules are set in stone. Thanks so much for joining us, ZP. And, well, let's just go straight to the shout-out. So, ZP, Take it away.
Shout out's pretty simple. Definitely catch tournaments on all the places this weekend. Gosu Gamers also runs things pretty frequently. Twitch.tv/Gosu Gamers. You can follow me on Twitter at TempoZP. Jake can attest to the fact that I am terrible at tweeting.
God, you're
so
awful.
really, the follow is just a support. And